Every single day, people around the world type more than 8.5 billion queries into a single search bar. We route commutes through Google Maps, watch billions of hours on YouTube, and organize our lives in Gmail. We do all of this without ever paying a subscription fee. Yet by providing these essential tools for free, the company behind them has reached a market valuation exceeding $2 trillion. To see how that math works, we can look at Google's balance sheet for the year 2022, where they reported roughly $280 billion in total revenue. The largest portion of that revenue, $237 billion, is generated entirely by advertisements. This revenue structure reveals Google's primary function. It uses its search engine and software as a gateway for a global advertising network, where human attention is the primary inventory. The strategy relies on the freemium business model. The base level of a product, like the first 15 gigabytes of Google Drive storage, is free to encourage adoption. If you want more space or an ad-free experience, you pay. But the reality is that 95% of the people who use Gmail or watch videos on YouTube never pay for a premium subscription. Google keeps its global user base inside its ecosystem by constantly pushing out new apps, devices, and operating systems. They are willing to absorb hundreds of failed projects, from social networks to hardware like Google Glass, just to see what sticks. Because the free tier has a hidden cost. Every location you map, every healthy recipe you search for, and every email you send acts as a data point. Google collects this information to build a detailed demographic profile based on your personal intent and interests. This differs from Amazon. While Amazon tracks the purchase history of what you buy, Google tracks the wider scope of what you are curious about. All those free apps and the graveyard of failed products serve a specific purpose. They are the tools required to maintain the most detailed consumer database in the world. Once that profile is built, a business logs into Google Ads to select their ideal customer. If a company wants to sell sunglasses to 18 to 25-year-old women living in a specific zip code, they simply set those parameters. When a user matching that description hits enter on a search, an invisible auction takes place. In a fraction of a millisecond, competing advertisers bid against each other for the right to place their link at the top of the results. To decide who wins, the system calculates an ad rank. It weighs the dollar amount the company is willing to pay against how relevant that specific ad is to the user's search. Executing these micro-auctions billions of times a day requires extensive physical infrastructure running constantly in the background. By perfecting this matching process, Google effectively placed a toll booth on human curiosity. They turned the daily keystrokes of billions of people into direct, automated profit. This entire machine runs on a fragile agreement. Users have to trust the company with their personal data and tolerate search pages that are increasingly crowded with sponsored links. That trust is fracturing. As public awareness around digital privacy grows, fewer people are willing to share their information, and regulators are actively stepping in. In 2023, Google paid a $93 million fine to the state of California after investigators found the company was tracking user locations even when those users had explicitly turned their location history off. But a new direct threat is emerging from the rise of generative AI and platforms like ChatGPT. When you ask a chatbot a question, it synthesizes a direct, neatly formatted answer. You get exactly what you need without having to scroll past several competing sponsored links to find a reliable source. Recognizing this risk to their core business, Google has pivoted toward developing its own artificial intelligence software, like Gemini, to protect its dominance over search traffic. The era of a web subsidized by search ads is fracturing, and as the technology evolves, it leaves us with the ultimate rule of the digital economy. When the tools are free, you are the product.